Hello and welcome to episode 137 of Writing in the Weeds. We are here today. We're going to do a quick review. We're going to make this pretty snappy and we want you to follow along with us. So, the idea of this episode is really just to take a moment to see what's happened in the last quarter. We're now almost we are past the end of March. So, this episode will be airing in April, and we are recording it on March the 30th, just to be completely transparent with you. So we're at the end of the first quarter.
31st, actually. It's actually the
It
31st.
is the 31st. That's right. Okay. Let's go with that.
There's a full moon tomorrow, too, so whee!
Woohoo! It was so bright here last night. It was so rad. It's like there's a spotlight. They turn on the spotlight for a couple of days. You can see everything. It's so cool. So grab your pen and paper or your notes on your phone if you're out for a walk, or just turn on your note-taking part of your brain and join us for this review. I'm Natasha Lockie, and I am here to help you get out of your own way. So if you're struggling with any sort of tech issues, if you're feeling kind of overwhelmed by like the strategy of needing to update your website and get your stuff into a place where it makes sense, or just doing general tech stuff that is not in your genius zone, I'm here to help. So you can find me at meetwithtash.com. I would love to have a chat with you. And I'm joined by my amazing co-host.
Yeah, hi, I am Jenny Brandon. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. If you're finding yourself struggling in your pet relationship, whether that is with emotional challenges, behavior challenges, or you just want to get to know your pet better, that is a great reason to have a session together.
Okay, everyone. So, quick review. So I got some questions. I'm going to throw them at Jenny. She's going to throw them back at me, and we're throwing them at you at the same time. So question number one to get us warmed up is, we want 3 wins that you've had in the last 24 hours. Jenny, what you got?
Ooh, 3. Crap. Yesterday was not the greatest day, I'm going to be honest. I don't know whether it was my energy or collective energy or what, but I was just really struggling emotionally a little bit. And so honestly, I'm just going to go with 1 win, and that was kind of sliding everything that wasn't urgent off my plate yesterday and taking the pressure off of myself. So I basically did what was absolutely necessary and didn't do it in a hurry, and just kind of laid low yesterday, which is definitely not what I would have done in the past. So I'm going to consider that one giant win at this point.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to remind everybody that this is something my friend told me she learned in a meditation course that she just did. And the guy was like, every morning when you get up, and actually throughout the day, if you're having a moment, like, take a moment to congratulate yourself on the fact that you are actually breathing in and out, because there's a lot of people that don't wake up in the morning. So just the fact you woke up in the morning is like, way, this is awesome. I'm here. And throughout the day, same thing. Just reminding ourselves that we are alive. And sometimes it's a struggle and you're having issues, but you're actually here getting to have those struggles, which can be a win. So my wins, I went to the gym yesterday morning. I actually felt super strong, which was amazing. I got some things ticked off my boxes. I got some boxes ticked off, and I went and spent some time with a friend who just broke her leg. So I was super stoked to be able to go and just help out and keep her company for a few hours. That was awesome. And then I went for a surf in the afternoon, and I scored some really fun waves. It was actually beautiful. It was really small, but it was super clean, and I had a lot of fun, and I was just stoked to have gotten out there. And then a bonus one was, we didn't really have much. We would get back from the surf, we were starving, and we didn't really have a whole lot to eat. And so I just grated up some carrot and some zucchini and cut up a few bell peppers, because that's literally all I had for vegetables. And my husband was like, dude, like, you cut up there's 2 carrots? What were you thinking? Well, they were going rotten, so that's what I was thinking. And he stir-fried them all up, and then we're eating dinner, and he was like, good call. This is really good. Like, after giving me
Does
grief.
sound good.
Yeah, literally it was just stir-fried carrots with a tiny bit of bell pepper and a tiny bit of zucchini, courgette thrown in. And he even said to me this morning, he's like, that was really good, like good work. And he's like, nice work on doing that. And then he gave himself credit for making it taste really good. So it was kind of a cool moment. Okay, so now we're going to do wins for the last quarter. Pretty much where we're going here is like the last 3 months. We did a future visioning workshop back in January. So pick a moment. But anyway, what are 3 wins? What did you set out to do at the beginning of this year? What did you set up for your future vision? What have you set out to do over the last 8 weeks of our Start Where You Are Change workshop? And what are 3 solid things that you can actually claim that you've made happen for yourself? What have you got, Jenny?
Yeah, I'm finally really coming to terms with the fact that the January 1 start date does not work for me for setting big goals and getting stuff going because it's the middle of winter. And so I have 2.5 more months of pretty crappy weather and it's cold and hard to do things. So I'm finally getting to a point where I'm coming to grips with that and figuring out what does that look like for myself because it's a great time for me to work on internal stuff. It's not a good time for me to do external action stuff. So I think the biggest thing that I have coming out of this quarter, though, is getting myself a foundation and a system for my business. So I've mentioned it several times on the episodes that I'm working with AI to help me structure my business in terms of what the heck am I supposed to be doing every day? What is a useful action that I'm supposed to be working on in the next day, week, whatever. And so that has been really rewarding and gratifying to see a system coming out of that for myself. And it's been fun. So that's the other piece that is nice for me is that I'm actually enjoying working on my business again, which I had been going through another cycle of burnout. I think that's why the winter was so hard for me this winter because I was in massive burnout again. So I feel like I'm finally coming out of that. So having a really solid system for my business has been super helpful. The other big win is we're really starting to get things moving on the house. We had the porch put on last fall, and so now that it's spring, we're finally able to start doing stuff outside. We put in some garden beds a couple weeks ago, like 2 weeks ago, and we had them edged in stone, so now they're easier to maintain. And so just starting to do projects and stuff is feeling really good again, which after the winter was not that I don't think that I'll ever feel better, but sometimes in those moments it's really hard to look forward to something when you don't even feel like doing anything in that moment. So coming out of that kind of slump of the winter has been really good. Being able to get outside and stuff has been helpful. And I think the progress with the horses, again, through the winter, they had 3 weeks off in the middle of the snow and ice, and being able to get back on and pick up right where we left off has been really cool. And B has been making some massive progress lately. It's all still in that really super subtle level, but I am seeing some huge changes in her. And that's really gratifying and again motivating. When you start seeing changes in something you're working on, that makes it exciting to keep working. So I'm coming into my higher energy part of the year. So that is definitely helping heading into quarter 2 with some of these wins at my back and being able to feel like I'm finally able to start making bigger changes. So that's that. So what are your 3 wins from the first quarter?
Win number 1, I'm going to say, is that I have kind of stuck with going to the gym. I'm going to the gym and I'm working towards really, there's some non-negotiables that I've got going on, but then I've also got negotiables. So this morning I was going to go to the gym, but I really didn't sleep that well last night. So I was like, meh, you know what? Sleep is actually number 1. Exercise is number 2. Nutrition is number 3, right? In my little mind this morning, that was what I went with. So yeah, I'm not beating myself up for not going to the gym because it's not normally a gym day, but I am starting to add more activity and more of that sort of stuff in, but really just having that, like, this is what I do. And also looking at how I can strategize going forward, how I'm going to work through the next month or so and come out the other side and be able to rejig and go back to that practice when I'm back into a routine instead of not being scared about that. Number 2 has been just in the last little while really showing up to do work at 9 o'clock in the morning with my work group. I've really, really enjoyed doing that. And what I call the biggest win in that is noticing that I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. And then creating space in other places around that. But I show up at 9, I get some work done, and then I can move on from there. And that's been just really nice to kind of find a space, because it's given me a little bit of structure that's making me feel less floaty. I'm kind of feeling a little more grounded around that. And my third win has been really digging in a little bit more to, like, I go for swims in the morning at least a couple of times a week. I haven't been doing as many walks on the beach, which I kind of am bummed out about. But at the same time, I am like, well, I don't have time to go for a walk on the beach because I went to the gym, but I'm going to zip down and I'm just going to jump in the water. And I might only have 20 minutes. So I'll take the bike, I will roll down, get in the water. And so just changing my expectations for how things need to look. I'd like to walk to the beach, go for a swim, walk home. I don't have time for that because I've got to be at work at 9. So I'm just like learning to move the Jello bowl around a little bit, and also really understanding that so many of the things I give myself grief for, and I'm working towards this perfection that I believe is there, is in my head. My friend took a photo of me the other day and I was horrified by it. And she was like, what are you talking about? I sent it to you because you look great. And my husband literally stopped talking to me for a day. He was just like, I just can't even with you anymore. And so starting to look at things and realizing that that mindset is actually permeating through the way I'm doing work, and the stress. Like, I didn't get back to somebody about payroll. I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to look bad. Or I've kind of gotten a little discombobulated and I'm doing this project and I don't really know where I am anymore. And I'm talking to the guy that I'm working with and I'm like, can we just, like, we need to reset. He's like, yeah, we do. I have no idea where I am either, you know, and realizing that it's like that time thing. So often when you reach out to someone and say, hey, I'm running late, they go, thank goodness I need that space. And realizing that we've kind of thrown all these marbles into a bowl, and you pick a marble out and you start looking at it, you're like, wow, there's a lot of facets to this marble, and you forget about all the other marbles, right? So he's in that space as much as anything. And within that, I've started creating spreadsheets that, it's funny, he doesn't really know me that well, so he's looking at these spreadsheets thinking he better not listen to this podcast. I'm kidding. But, you know, he's like, wow, it's awesome. Like, you're so organized. And then we lost a bunch of emails and I was like, yeah, I should have had a list of the emails I was sending out and I should have been keeping track of them. And he's like, well, no, I lost them. I was like, yeah, that's cool. You lost them. But I was relying on the email box to be able to see the work I'd done. But if I had have been a step ahead of myself, I actually could have come up with a better structured formula, which wouldn't have mattered if you lost the emails. Like, and he's like, Tash, like, I lost the emails. I'm like, yes, but I was being lazy. And kind of like, it's not a perfectionist thing. It's purely like, oh, you know what? I could have actually organized this slightly better. And eventually I might become like a well-structured, organized person. And in the bonus one, so apparently I'm on bonus ones today. But my bonus one is really recognizing that over the last couple of years, I have been planting seeds. I have been very busy in my garden, like, sowing seeds. And I'm like now that gardener, metaphorically, that is like, oh shit, I have too many courgettes. Because everything's coming at me. I've got like 2 contracts that I've just gotten. I've got somebody else that wants me to do work. I'm like, well, this would have been great 3 months ago to get this job, but now I've got two website jobs that I'm working on. And then somebody else is like, well, we now have the opening that I've been talking about for 2 years. Do you want the job? And I'm like, I want all of it. And I'm not really sure how I'm going to manage all of it. But I want all of it. So I got to figure out how to really embrace that, and just being able to see like, oh, okay, like I was in a time of just sowing seeds, and having space and being able to kind of move and create these routines like going to the gym and putting them in a place where that's the most important thing in my day. Now, how does everything else work around it? And with my work group, it's like, yeah, okay, I can make this work. Really seeing how future Tash is able to operate. I'm definitely am now in the thick of like everything's changing and I feel like I am losing control. But I am also recognizing that that's kind of just part of the process. So
Yeah,
that's
I love it.
that's where just really adjusting and learning from my past, like really learning from past Tash and how she did things great and how I can avoid the things that weren't fun
Yeah.
and
I
holding it.
think in that same vein, I'll throw in a bonus there too, that one of the things I've done with the AI and supporting my business was had it develop a tracker for me for my time and all of the different activities that I do for my business. And one of the things that I have always struggled with is feeling like I'm not doing enough, right? Like, oh, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing enough of the things and not really having a handle on what the heck that was, right? And so I've been tracking my time all month now. And really since about January, but March is when we really kind of got it dialed in with the formulas and figuring out exactly what I should be counting and what I shouldn't. And I've had almost 50 hours in my business in March. And if you had asked me, even this week, if you had asked me like, oh yeah, how much time did you put into your business? I never would have said I had devoted that much time to my business. And so that's that discrepancy of our perception versus what's really happening. And, I'm huge on tracking things. Like you guys know that. I'm really big on it because our brains will lie to us a lot. And so my win is having put in 50 hours in my business in March and not even feeling like that was a lot. Like I know I was sitting down at the computer frequently, but also not feeling like it was heavy or like it was a strain or a struggle to put in that much time. And so having that perspective was enlightening. It was like, oh, dang, I really am working. I really am putting in the time for all of this stuff. And I expect that those hours will probably level out a little bit because in that time frame there has been a lot of foundational building, right? It's all that tracking stuff, figuring out all of that, figuring out all of my systems, like how do I want to post, how do I want to show up online, what do I want to say, and so working out how all that flows. So I expect I'll be able to cut those hours down some and also still be able to manage everything really, really well. But now I know where I'm starting from, and without having that awareness, I wouldn't be able, like I said, I would tell you I hadn't done enough. And that's just beating myself up for something that isn't even true in the first place. When I've got physical evidence now that I can argue with my brain and be like, yes, the foo. We did a lot this month. I really put in a lot of energy. And so, yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I don't like to look at the income tracker part right now because that part isn't pretty, but that's okay. You have to know where you're starting from. Otherwise, you won't know. So I'll throw that in there as my bonus win as well, because that's a pretty big awareness to have. So, like I said, I'm going to harp on tracking stuff for probably ever. And I'll reflect back to you too that your fitness journey has basically been a year now, because you really started last year after you did the retreat in January. And that was when you really started getting committed to that. And you've had ups and downs, but you are always coming back to it. And that's what's cool about these kind of habits. It gets faster and easier to get yourself out of the weeds every time you do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get frustrated that I feel like I'm not making progress, but I think that's what I've really noticed with this, like my gardening. Like I felt like I wasn't making progress forever. And now I'm really starting to just see that just keeping on going, right? Like it's nothing is going to grow. I mean, that's not true. Sometimes things do grow immediately, and I don't actually want that anymore because that happened to me and it was too much too quick, and that's sort of where everything went sideways. So I'm really happy with just this sort of slow burn, and then being able to figure out. I had a tarot card reading. I actually had a sage burning and a tarot card reading the other day, and the sage lady was like, You got to follow your heart. If you can imagine it, it exists. And if you follow your heart and listen to your heart, then you can't go wrong. And then the tarot reading right after, she was like, there is so much money in your field. She's like, if you just flow, just go with the flow and just allow things to roll the way that they're meaning to. And I'm like, I don't even know what that means. How do I listen to my heart? But if I look back and I'm like, I look at these things that I think went wrong, and then I'm like, the way things are just unfolding with like where we're going right now, I'm astounded. I'm like, okay, if I just trust that, stop trying to control it, stop trying to push it, stop trying to hold on really tightly, and noticing when I start clenching up and being scared, and that lack of self-confidence starts to trickle in. And we had someone we met recently, and he's like, I just bought a house. I need you guys to live in it next year. Like, so if that pans out, we effectively might be living on the beach with a pool and a beautiful house. And then it's so funny because this is my like stupidity comes in. I'm like, but I really like my property, and it's not really in the right location because I like where I am right now. I won't be close enough to the surf beach. I'll be close to the other surf beach, and that surf is scary. And I'm like, oh, look at you go. Look at you trying to dam the stream. Like, that's what we do. So I'm just going to jump forward because I said we were going to be quick, and now we haven't been that quick. So with that in mind, very quickly, 3 wins for the next quarter.
Uh, I think I'm going to go back to consistency again. I am working very hard on finding the rhythm of consistency with flexibility. And so, like, I think I'm pretty sure that's been on my list for a very long time now. But I'm starting to see, like you said, like the planting seeds metaphor, I'm laughing because I had a somatic journaling one morning and it was like, don't rip up the seeds to see if there's roots. Like, that's literally what I wrote, right? Like, you can't rip out the seed to find out if there's roots growing. And so you have to let things be. And so I think that's where I am as well, is it's like, all right, I've got some of these systems. They're starting to feel more natural and less effortful. We've talked about that. When you begin these types of things, it feels like it takes so much effort. There is a turning point where that starts to ease and it starts to become natural and normal to you. And so I'm waiting for some of this to really settle into, like really lock it into a natural and easeful rhythm that feels a little bit lighter. So I think that's honestly true in my business with my horse work and just in how I manage life as well. So we are starting into spring, summer where we've got more daylight, more ability to do things, nicer weather. And so I'm looking forward to being able to be more active in those types of things in the next quarter that we're coming to. So I think it's all 3 of those areas, really just finding that more natural rhythm and being able to sustain it.
I like it. Okay, so my 3, I would say number 1 is really trusting the process. Number 2, having an incredible trip home that's magical in every way that it could possibly be. And number 3 is sort of settling into all of these new roles that I've got, and just in the knowledge that they're going to expand into something bigger, and really doing it in a way that just fits, and it isn't going to cause burnout. And this is sort of going beyond the next 3 months, but really coming out of the summer with a solid income that will go through the winter. And in that sort of travel home, also just continuing to like hit my fitness goals and get to where I want to be in my full vanity metrics. But in that, like, figuring out actually just really loving myself, because my husband keeps calling me out on the fact that I say these things and he's like, you're not living them. And I'm like, no, I disagree with that. But I really am agreeing with him on the fact that, like, I'm done with not appreciating what I have in terms of my body, in terms of my relationship, in terms of my absolute dream life that I live. Just really actually appreciating everything and not wanting more, but not from a place of lack, but from a place of overflow.
Yeah.
All right. So I hope that this has given you guys some perspective on just review. Thank you for giving us the space to chat about our stuff. If you're still here, we really appreciate it. We would love to hear what your wins are, what you're moving towards. And if you're struggling with any of this, the last episodes that we've been doing are really, really helpful in just kind of grounding, right? And just knowing that everything's a process and it's up to us to create that process. At the end of the day, like, congratulations, you woke up this morning, and that's always a win. Anything on top of that is a bonus. And just really focusing on that sort of stuff and reworking that brain out of the negative, out of the lack, out of the want, and into that future vision and that future self place. And when you start to reconfigure yourself in that way, you will notice that things get easier. It's really easy to be stuck when you just keep focusing on the stuff that you do wrong, whether it's done wrong, and then you go looking for proof, and you will always find it. But just as you can find the proof and the evidence that you suck, you can actually find the proof and evidence that you don't suck. So I would encourage you to just be like really conscientious about how much you don't suck, and noticing when you're beating up on yourself, because no one's going to make any changes. No one is going to do anything differently when they're being beaten up. And that doesn't just mean the people around you. It actually, to start with, it means you. If you beat yourself up, you will not feel good and you won't want to do stuff. So put yourself in rooms and spaces that make you want to grow. Plant your garden in the sun. Make sure you water it. And very soon, you'll have too many courgettes. So with that, on our super concise, speedy episode here, I'm going to say that I'm Natasha Lockie. Thank you so much for joining us. If you want to find me, you can find me on Facebook, Natasha Lockie. If you'd like to have a chat, free 15 minutes, meetwithtash.com. I would love to just be a sounding board. And if there's anything I can do to help, or if I can offer you any suggestions on ways that you can move forward, I would love to connect with you. Or if you just want to say hi, I got time sometimes. Pick a good spot. So thank you very much, and I'll let Jenny finish this up.
Yeah, I am Jenny Brandon. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. If you are finding things that you are struggling with your pet relationships, please do reach out. You can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Substack, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube under the same handle. So thanks for hanging on through this wild ride through the weeds today, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Awesome, everyone. Thanks. We'll see you next week.